Hey guys, how's it going? As many of you might know, I've been trying to get my weather magic to work overseas, and I've had quite a lot of trouble with elemental spirits who protect faraway lands. To overcome these issues, I've made the best decision of my occult life. I've purchased a legendary robe known as the Authority over Heaven and Earth robe. What this means is that now I won't be limited by oceans and borders. I'll finally be able to bring rain in places that desperately need it, such as Yemen, and therefore I'll be able to make a good difference to the world. Now today's video will focus on magical instruments that have a profound effect on changing the weather if used properly. Before I begin, I will say that every Taoist sect and lineage does things in their own unique way. So some of the instruments that I'll mention here might have different uses depending on what school of thought you are subscribed to. I'm just going to give you my experiences with the instruments. This information is very obscure, but it's essential if you wish to safely practice borrowing and summoning different elements. So let's go through the instruments that I use and what they correspond with. There are 5 main instruments for the 5 thunder gods, the 5 directions, and the 5 Chinese element system. A drum, a boogle horn, a small silver bell, a large copper bell, and a smaller horn. Now there are plenty of other instruments that Taoists use, but I've found that these 5 seem to be perfect in getting the job done. Traditionally, when a priest or a master is practicing Taoist weather magic, they will usually have dozens and dozens of people playing a variety of musical instruments in order to speed up the process of the ritual. But since I am a solitary practitioner, I can only play one instrument at one time. I always associate a particular color with the instrument that I am playing. I find that this helps a lot with visualization. To begin a weather ritual, let's just say for example you are working to borrow wind. I will start with a large boogle horn. When you breathe into the horn, breathe from your stomach, not from your chest. In Taoism, this area is known as the lower dantian. There are 3 dantians. The upper, located in the head, the middle in the chest, and the lower one in the gut. A dantian is an energetic center within the human body. Since qi that is located within the lower dantian is considered to be the original source of qi, focus on this as you release qi from that area. It passes through into the horn, then it enters the atmosphere where it will begin to cause change in the world. This change may result in a sudden drop or rise in temperature or heavy rainfall, depending on your intentions. As you play the horn, you will drift into a standing meditation. Imagine that you are high up in the clouds, the air is warm, a slight breeze is present. You are using your breath to create a stronger wind. Each time you exhale, you feel yourself becoming one with the instrument. So much so to the point where you no longer notice you are holding it. It becomes an extension of your physical body as it molds into your hands, and there is no distinction between you and the horn. The horn has become another limb to you. Do you know when you see really great musicians and they're on stage and they're playing their instruments, they always become one with it and it looks effortless? That's the kind of frame of mind that you're trying to obtain here. Visualize qi moving from your lower dantian into the horn, and imagine a black colored qi that is coming from your kidneys. You should use the horn facing north, the northern direction. As you do this, and as you play, simply move your upper body from left to right as you breathe into it. Do this slowly for about 5 minutes. The horn works like a straw. You are drawing up wind from whatever direction you are facing by using your breath. As you blow into the horn, an auspicious sound is made. This sound resonates in the Earth's cavities, which causes the Earth to vibrate ever so slightly. This vibration causes a frequency. Remember, sound itself is a frequency, which is why it is so important to use certain noises and tones in order to change reality. Although the horn is very useful, on its own it won't be enough to make a noticeable change. After the horn has been used for 5 minutes, quickly switch to the drum. The drum is the heartbeat of the ritual. It is the rhythm and flow of the sound. When working with the drum, qi from the middle dantian should be used. This qi is directly related to the heart and to breathing. So one should visualize a red-colored qi and play the drum facing towards the south. By keeping a steady beat and by slowing down your breathing, as you play the drum, you should visualize every beat as a strike of lightning in a darkened sky. Each time you strike the drum, imagine lightning getting brighter and more intense. Start off by beating the drum fairly softly, then progress to a very strong beat, but do not allow your heart rate to race. Keep it calm and collected, but remain hyper-focused on the sound. The drum will slowly draw in large black clouds, which in turn will encourage rain to fall. The key with ritual instruments is to play them as loudly as you possibly can. This is in aid of getting the attention of the heavenly deities. If you have neighbors, then you'll be getting complaints, trust me. The drum also works closely with thunder. Remember Lei Gong, the Lord of Thunder? He carries with him a drum that produces the sound of it. This instrument is especially useful in warding away demonic entities, in order to drive them away from your altar space. I personally use the drum for around 5 minutes. That's the rule, 5 minutes for the drum, the large horn, and the large bell. It's 10 minutes for the smaller instruments. It's got nothing to do with their size, but their sound and the tone. The smaller bell is usually the instrument that is used the least out of all of them. On average, during a ritual, I would say I probably only use it once during that whole ritual. That's not a whole lot. This isn't because it isn't important, it's because it's very potent. It's very powerful. Overuse of any of the instruments could result in harm to the practitioner. With the small horn, you should imagine a white-colored qi. Unlike the larger horn where you use your stomach to breathe into it, here you will use your breath from your lungs, and imagine the entire area filling up with white mist or fog. The smaller horn works best in producing a healthy fog, which you can then take energy from. This is known as eating vapor. It should be played facing the west. Now, the large copper bell, this is probably my favorite, but it is perhaps the riskiest instrument out of them all. I would advise that you do not use the large bell until you are confident with it. It is used to quickly summon wind and rain, but it must be used in partnership with the smaller bell, so think yin and yang. The small bell should be placed whilst facing east, and the larger one can be played in the center direction, where all of the energies meet at one point. When you are using the large bell, always use it with your dominant hand. So in my case, that would be the right. Use the small bell with your non-dominant hand. The larger bell creates the element of wind, whilst the smaller one maintains what the larger bell has created. So if you wanted to specifically call a 55 miles per hour wind, just throwing that out there as an example, then you would use the large copper bell to summon it, and the smaller one to prevent it from getting any stronger or any weaker. The smaller bell will keep the wind at exactly what speed you desire. The reason why I say the copper bell is risky is because it has no limits on its ability to generate wind. If you keep ringing it, the speed and intensity of the winds will continue to grow, and you won't be able to physically stop it. I've heard stories from novice practitioners who were trying weather magic for the very first time, and they didn't bother with the small bell, and instead just kept ringing the copper one beyond the 5-minute rule. Shortly after that, a very strong wind was summoned, which caused injury to that person. Any wind that exceeds 74 miles per hour is considered to be a hurricane. Your smaller bell is there to prevent any disaster from occurring. So always use both and do not lose yourself in the moment too much. 5 minutes can pass by so quickly, and if the winds get too strong, you won't be able to tame them. So why would a person want a very specific speed of wind? Well, as you know, gentle winds are more auspicious than fierce ones. So if you can summon and maintain, let's say, a 15 miles per hour wind, which is considered to be more or less a moderate breeze, you will then be able to absorb the healthy chi and practice your meditation without worrying about getting hurt. Now, for advanced magicians, this is how we would perfect our skills at calming down strong winds and storms. So by using the large bell, I purposely summon winds that are beyond 55 miles per hour for the reason of training and getting more efficient at quelling dangerous weather. You don't learn without pushing the boundaries. Think about it. If a storm is approaching, then you are going to want to try and tame it. So with this exercise, it trains you to do just that, but I wouldn't recommend this to you unless you are very experienced. I must admit, it can be difficult at times to keep switching from one instrument to the next, but in my opinion, doing this, it gives you a great sense of intimacy with the weather. Most Taoist priests wouldn't even touch half of the instruments themselves. They have specially selected musicians who will play them for them. But I think if you are doing all of the playing, it connects you much more to the ritual, and a stronger connection results in a deeper state of flow, meaning a deeper trance state. Without getting too much into it, because I've already covered this topic in great detail, when Zhuge Liang performed his wind-borrowing ritual during the Battle of the Red Cliffs, he basically had a whole band with him, And I do think that if you have more people involved with your magic, your spell will have a greater effect simply because of collective energy. Any volunteers out there want to join me and become my musicians? I'd love that. There are plenty of other instruments, such as a wooden fish percussion instrument, which is known in English as a Chinese temple block. These are really useful for calling and borrowing rain. I believe they are also used in Buddhist rituals as well. So that about covers my experience and my uses for the instruments. I hope you've found this informative, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon.